2 months. That's how long Samantha Busch waited before she said anything at all. Not an interview. Not a quote to the media. Just silence. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any statement ever could. Then on June 25th, she posted a message on her Instagram, and the words she chose revealed something that nobody outside her family had ever really understood about grief, strength, and what it actually takes to keep moving when the ground beneath your feet has disappeared. Most people remember where they were when they heard about Kyle Busch. The shock, the disbelief, one of NASCAR's most dominant forces, a legend with a swagger that filled every room he entered, was gone. But what happened after that first wave of grief was something different. Samantha became invisible, not because she wanted to be, because grief doesn't give you a choice about when you're ready to speak. She had 2 kids. Brexton, old enough to understand that his father wasn't coming home. Lennox, young enough that the full weight of this might crush him in ways he doesn't even comprehend yet. And Samantha? She was a widow, a mom, 2 identities that suddenly had to exist at the exact same time, fighting for survival in a moment where survival itself felt impossible. When someone you build your entire life with disappears, people expect you to crumble publicly. They want a timeline. They want statements. They want you to perform your grief so they can understand it, categorize it, move on from it. But Samantha didn't do that. She did something harder. She got up every morning. She wiped away tears alone. Then she made the pancakes. Nobody talked about the breakfast meetings. Nobody covered the bedtime stories. Nobody filmed the moment Brexton asked a question that Samantha didn't know how to answer because she was still asking herself the same question. How do you explain to a child that someone doesn't get to grow old, that sometimes the strongest people in our lives just stop being here? How do you make sense of that when you can't make sense of it yourself? The racing world moved on. That's what it does. Races happen. New seasons start. Stories shift. But inside their house, every single morning still came. Every single day still demanded the same things. Breakfast, questions, smiles, routine. The invisible labor of holding a broken family together while your own heart was shattered into pieces that you weren't even sure could be put back together. Then something changed. Not because Samantha decided she was ready, but because staying silent was becoming its own kind of lie. People were asking her how she stayed so strong, how she managed it, how she survived. And maybe she realized that the answer to those questions was the most important thing she could possibly share with anyone who was listening. On Instagram, in her own words, she broke 2 months of silence. She said a thing that nobody wants to admit when they're drowning in grief. She didn't feel strong. Most days, she wanted to curl up in a bowl and cry. She missed Kyle every second of every day. The physical pain of his absence was so real that it lived inside her chest, and some mornings it took everything she had just to get out of bed. But here's the thing about being a mother. It rewires you. It changes the equation. Because when your kids are hurting, something primal takes over. You don't have time to fall apart. Your children need you to be the ground beneath their feet when everything else is shaking. So you have the good cry. You let yourself feel all of it. And then you get up and you make the pancakes. That's not weakness, master strength. That's the realest kind of strength there is. It's not the kind you see on a racetrack. It's not measured in wins or championships. It's measured in the small, invisible moments that nobody films and nobody celebrates. It's a decision to get up anyway. It's choosing your kids over your own pain. It's understanding that grief doesn't stop just because your children need to be loved. Samantha talked about the questions. Brexton and Lennox still had questions. They still needed hugs. They still needed comfort and laughter and routines. They needed someone to help carry their hurting hearts while Samantha's heart was shattered. That's not a problem to solve. That's a life to actually live through, moment by moment, breath by breath. She answered the questions the best she could when she still had so many of her own. She smiled for them when she was in physical pain because she missed Kyle so much. She did everything she could so they could keep being kids and not carry the full weight of all this. Because that's what mothers do. That's what she's been doing every single morning since June. Not because it's easy, because they need her to. What struck people when they read those words was the honesty, not the strength everyone kept trying to project onto her, not the resilience narrative that the internet loves to celebrate and then move on from. Just a raw, unfiltered truth about what this actually looks like from the inside. It doesn't look like triumph. It looks like choosing your kids. It looks like getting up anyway. Brexton and Lennox are the reason she keeps putting one foot in front of the other. For them. For him. That's what she wrote. For him. Meaning Kyle. Meaning the legacy he left behind. Meaning the family he built that's still standing, still moving, still loving each other, even though there's a hole in the middle of it that will never completely close. The racing world created Kyle Busch as this larger-than-life figure. Multiple championships. Wins across 3 different series. A personality that couldn't be ignored. But what Samantha's message revealed was something that transcends that. Kyle wasn't just a driver. He was Brexton's father. He was Lennox's father. He was a person who built a life with someone, and that life didn't end when his time on the track did. It just transformed into something different, something that requires a different kind of strength. 2 months of silence wasn't Samantha avoiding the conversation. It was Samantha doing what she needed to do to keep her family functioning. It was her choosing privacy over performance. It was her understanding that grief isn't content. It's not a story arc with a redemption moment. It's a long, difficult journey that doesn't fit into social media timelines or news cycles. It's waking up tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that, still missing someone, still showing up anyway. When she finally spoke, people didn't see a widow who had conquered her grief. They saw a mother who understood that all you want is for your children to feel safe, loved, and protected, even when your own world has fallen apart. That's not inspiration porn. That's not a feel-good story that makes us feel better about the world. It's the truth about what survival looks like when survival is just about showing up one morning at a time and making pancakes. Kyle Busch left behind a legacy of wins and championships and incredible moments on the track. But he also left behind 2 kids who still need to grow up, a wife who still needs to be here for them, a family that still needs to exist in a world that suddenly got much harder. And Samantha's message to everyone watching, everyone who wondered how she stayed so strong, is that strength isn't about having it all figured out. It's about getting up anyway. That's what we should all remember about Kyle's legacy. Not just the driver he was, but the father he created, the family he built, and the woman who's been holding it all together in the silence, making sure that Brexton and Lennox still feel loved, still feel safe, still feel like they matter. Because they do. And so does she. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever wondered what real strength looks like in the face of unimaginable loss, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Share your own stories about resilience, about showing up for your family, about the invisible strength it takes to keep moving. And if you want more deeply personal stories from the world of NASCAR, NHRA, and motorsports, stories about the people behind the helmets, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Share content.